We are back, guys. Again, this is Doc Williams from the Toolkit, and this is the Toolkit Summit 2017. And we are back again with the wonderful people from Fitness Break Room. Real quick, who do we have on the line today?
You want to go first? Go for it.
I was going to give it to him first this time. I'm Jessica Webster.
I'm Sam Pogue.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank you for being here again. So before we talked about defining and refining your brand in the fitness industry, and now we're going to almost do a two-parter. We're going to go into networking. So why is this so important to even talk about, and what are we going to be discussing today?
Well, I think in the business culture, for a long time, it's always been expressed your net worth is your network, right? And I think a lot of people get really scared of that. They don't want to go to these like cocktail socials, wear a name tag, and go around like, I'm Sam, this is what I do, right? Networking doesn't have to be that like arbitrary, super awkward situation, right? And if you meet me, I just want to make it super awkward just because. But it needs to be something, it needs to be organic. And you know, I'm very fortunate that I have a really great network of people around me, and it happens to be that my archetype or my profile lends itself to be that. I am super extroverted. Like if I do my 16 personalities test, I'm like 99.2% extroverted, right? And like I don't think I have any introversion in me at all. Right? So I think a lot of people assume that to have a great network, you have to be the social butterfly that goes around and talks to everybody and wants to say hi and you know what's going on. But you don't have to be that person to have a really powerful network. And a network is super important, not because you like can like, oh, I know Justin Bieber, I know Drake, whoever it is, right? Is because you can always be able to draw upon someone you know. Right? The whole concept of I've got a guy or I know a gal or I know someone who does that, right? It's one thing to have a huge phone book in your phone, not a phone book. These kids are going to be like, a phone book, what's that?
What is that?
Right. But it's another thing that when you know how to draw upon someone instantly, and to do that, the skill of networking is more than just putting yourself in front of other people. It's the ability to connect with people and the ability to understand and remember what they do. So that way when someone says, boy, I need like a fitness marketer, and I'm like, oh my God, you should talk to Jessica. She's amazing. Here's what she's done. Here's who she's worked with, right? But if you're not listening, if you're not engaging with people, like you'll never think of that. It's just a super passive conversation, right? And it's a boring conversation. Yeah, I'm really needing a fitness marketer for my gym. Oh, that's cool. I need one too. And you're like, well, that's not awkward. And you know what I mean? It's as awkward as that like little silence was, as I'm like moving my hands but not actually talking. So the network is a skill. It's something that you have to practice if you're not really good at it or it doesn't come naturally. I would be lying if I said that systemizing what I do is easy, because for me it's like I'm gonna put myself in front of as many people as possible, and I don't mind walking into a conversation that could potentially get super awkward, but being able to read people is a super key thing, right? And so if Jess and I are talking and I'm sitting back here like this, right, then she'll probably want to mimic me because I'm not quite comfortable wanting to engage in conversation. Or if I'm like up in her face and like I'm super emphatic with my hands, doing her hair, like we're jiving, we're on the same vibe, right? And you don't need to match people's frequencies in that way, but you do need to respect them. So building a powerful network, how do you do it, right? As a trainer or a fitness professional, it's really easy to get caught up training all your clients day to day and being able to go into the gym, going home, cooking dinner, going to the grocery store. That's it, right? But you forget that, well, how did all these clients show up in your door the first place, right? And we're not in a day and age where you can get by just being the only location on your block. Because not only are you the gym on the block and you might be the small mom and pop gym, but you got fucking Orange Theory, 24-Hour Fitness, LA Fitness, 17 CrossFit boxes, Barry's Boot Camp, Flywheel, Spin, Soul Cycle, whatever it is, next door, right? So you can't play the game of I'm just the local gym now. You have to have some sort of value proposition, right? And so you have to be able to create an emotive response with people that makes them want to be there, right? And that stems from what Jessica was talking about with your brand, but also that execution and how you portray that physically in a day-to-day persona, right? If you have this message of inclusivity and this message of we love everybody, yet you're only paying attention to the hot girl in class, and you're only like you always just have your shirt off and like doing fucking bicep curls. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss.
Oh yeah, this is the internet. You can do what you want.
Right? But it's like, oh yeah, we do all these functional movements, and yet you're just sitting in the mirror. I'd flex my biceps, but it's embarrassing. And you're just doing all these curls, right? That's also not attractive from what your image says about you. So how do you go about starting to build that network?
Don't worry, guys. We'll get them back in 1 second. Don't worry. They're coming in, and I think they're back right now.
Oh, us. I was like, you? That's why I was like, can I make some faces? I don't know what's going on. So we've talked about just purely like, okay, well, why is a network important? Everybody recognizes that we need to have a network. And I wanted to express that you don't have to be the social butterfly to have a strong network. So let's lay out some actionable tools that you can do to put yourself in there. First and foremost, put yourself in advantageous scenarios to where you have a conversation set up for you to actually succeed. If you're super fitness geek, right, maybe you should go to the NSCA conferences, or maybe you should go to some fitness summits, like in-person ones, and go somewhere where you naturally are going to have natural conversation starters. Oh, where are you from? Where's your gym at? Oh, that's great. Do you do semi-private? Do you do one-on-ones? Do you do group classes? Super easy way. The biggest thing that you need to start doing when you start networking is you need to find through lines of conversation, right? You need to give open-ended answers, and you need to give an opportunity to reciprocate. So if I ask Jessica, like, oh, do you like doing, do you do a lot of Olympic lifting? And her response is, I fucking hate Olympic lifting. Boy, that conversation stopped real quick, right? Versus if she said, oh, I don't really do a lot of Olympic lifting, but I'd love to learn more. Is that something that you do? Could you teach me? Now the conversation just switched to being something where it's engaging and asking for a back and forth, right? Too many times, like, I'm not saying you have to be the most optimistic, I love everybody in the world, because I might be super outgoing, but I'm kind of a douche. And I'm not the, like, let's embrace and hug all the time.
He's not a douche. You're not a douche. All the time.
All the time. That's the trick. Right? One of my coworkers on it, she goes, do you know you have this look that you give people that makes them feel stupid? And I was like,
I've seen it before.
Yes, I do. She goes, oh, you do that on purpose. Okay, cool. And I'm like, yep, I do have that. Anyway, so putting yourself in scenarios that you're not going to have awkward silence. The nice thing about training, and this isn't across every trainer, is that you're probably pretty good with small talk, right? Grandma Betty walks in the room today. Oh, how was cribbage? How are your dentures doing? How's shuffleboard going? Is that shoulder feeling okay? Do we need to do some extra band work so that glide is even better, right? Something along those lines, so that way, you can talk with about it. But like, you're not going to come up to Grandma Betty and like, oh man, my back squat was so big time. And she's gonna be like, what? Like, you know what I mean? So you're usually pretty good about like, okay, understanding your clients and understanding who they are. And like, even if so the weather outside is really sunny today. You guys gonna go camping? Right, but being able to dialogue and go back and forth with it. So most of us are pretty good with it, but you can figure out really quickly, for those of you that work in training environments where there's independent contractors or new people coming in all the time, or even just a coworker that's like the most socially awkward individual ever, right? And you can see it from a mile away. Like, there's just no engagement, there's not talking, there's like the person does the reps and then they sit there. And God forbid they have like a full 3-minute rest because they're doing like a high-loaded back squat. Cool, right? So you need to be able to fill that time with something. And something I used to get really mad about when I was at 24-Hour Fitness back in the day is that like I'd watch one of my coworkers train someone. I'm like, oh, what does she do? I don't know. How is that not something that came up? Like, because if any of us sat down at the bar together, what's the guaranteed topic that always comes up? What do you do, right? Because it's the lowest barrier to entry. Most people have jobs or like are doing, like, it's how we attach the value system of our life, right? That's the status quo of how we say this is where we live in this world. I'm a CEO of this, right? And you're like, it's like your own company. Clearly you're trying to step your game up. Or like, oh, I work for 24. Oh, that's great. What do you do? I'm a trainer, right? So, but being able to have that conversation. So it always surprises me. Yet it's so like, if we're going to some networking event and it's like, oh, Doc, how's it going? Man, just been super busy. Okay, That's everybody's go-to response, right? It doesn't leave for something open-ended. You're like, wow, we had this huge project to get done, and I'm trying to get it done as quick as possible because I'm going on vacation to Bermuda, right? Now it's like, oh, I've never been to Bermuda. Why did you want to go there, right? So it goes both ways, right? I like to go both ways. Wait, what? Sorry, did that break up? I didn't mean to say that.
Good segue into.
Good segue.
So with the Fitness Break Room podcast, Sam has interviewed me with 30 guests by this point.
Oh man, I'm like 15.
15.
Yeah, but I appreciate your doubling it.
Man, all right.
I wish everybody did that. How tall are you? 8'5"?
So in understanding people's stories and where they've come from and where they're going, one of the other commonalities that we found besides understanding their brand, like them understanding who they are, is that they've had serendipitous moments with random ass people that got them where they are, like totally random meetups. And who was the guest that we had on the Knicks guy?
Oh, Shimon Ishikawa, the sports scientist for the New York Knicks.
He was literally like, okay, I wasn't the best at my job, wasn't the tallest, didn't, do all these things the best, but he was the most obsessed at where he wanted to go, right? He knew he wanted that job. And so he said, I just told everybody like what I wanted to do. He just called it in. He was like, janitor, this is what I want to do. What you got for me? Because you never know that janitor, his son might be like that guy who you need to talk to. So it's like, have a good understanding of, having good understanding that you don't know everyone's network, right? Yeah. Like opportunities are all out there and they're walking around you. Just throw your dream world out there.
I love when I have some young kid like try to big league me and they're like, oh, you don't have a 50,000 person social media following. I'm like, I may not have that, but I bet I have the best Rolodex, right? And it's like,
it's really true because like, and Sam, I think we talked about, I'm not sure if it was on the podcast, but like one of the guys who's going to be on it, Brody, he was the roommate for the manager for Lil Wayne and Lady Gaga. And he has nothing on social media, anything. He only has a cell phone and he refuses to have a website. And someone's like, don't you want more clients? And he's like, only the important people that can contact me and have my number, and that's the only ones I want to work with. And I was like, oh man, but he was operating at a certain level. I was like, I'm not at that level, but he was and his network was at that point that's all of the people he wanted to associate with and that level, how to contact him. But it's, if you needed to know that guy that manager that made you that much money, you had that guy's number, and that's all that mattered.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I say start out by putting yourself in advantageous scenarios where you're going to have people that you can like converse with and like that you guarantee topics that you can talk about, like squatting, and it's not going to be awkward for you, right? Because other people will appreciate that. But as you get better, like put yourself in other scenarios. So in my ebook, I talk about, when your client who likes you invites you to their family barbecue, you need to fucking go. Right? Because she's been blowing you up for the last 6 months, right? Her butt's looking good, her arms looking great in that strapless dress. And she's like, oh my gosh, Joe totally wants to start training with you, yet Joe never calls, right? Because it's really easy to not call. But then you show up at this motherfucking barbecue and you see Joe and he's like, dude, I've been meaning to call you. Dude, I have an opening tomorrow, 8 a.m. Okay. Right?
Joe, where are you at?
It's so hard to turn you down in person, right? It's like the old school Sears sales strategy, like having a person who's an expert, having expertise power on dishwashers and whatnot was like coming up to you. It's like way harder, right? Or the girl that comes by, girl or a guy, it's like, you want another beer? Of course I want another beer. Like the only way I'm stopping is if you just bring me the check. Like why are we playing a stupid game like that? You know what I mean? You're just like, you naturally just say yes, right? Because we inherently don't want to A, look like we don't have it all together, B, like we don't have enough money to do it, C, that we're not here for those purposes of what most people think that we're supposed to be there, what society thinks we're supposed to be there. The second piece to being able to be a good networker and building a powerful network stems off of what we just talked about, how you treat people, right? So if I go into a meeting with the Chicago Cubs or Exos or whoever it is, you have to understand that you're putting yourself in on their turf, right? You need to make yourself available to be vulnerable. And you need to be okay with being able to be reactionary to the questions that they have. If you come in there guns a-blazing and trying to talk about yourself, we all have friends that do that. The one-upper, the person that's like, bro, shut the fuck up, You know why you go snowboarding with other people? Why? It's so other people can tell people how good you are, not so you can tell people how good you are. You know what I mean? It's that environment. So go in like understanding how you treat people with respect and how you go in with a service-oriented attitude about how you can help them, right? If I sat down with you, Doc, and Doc and I just met for the first time last weekend in DC, and if I came in, sat down, like, here's what you're doing wrong, here's why you're not successful, here's what you could be doing better, you're like, who the fuck is this dude? Like, it would be such a turnoff for you, right? But that's how people try to do that with their conversations, because they feel like if they don't put themselves out there telling them what they do, they'll never have the opportunity to be able to tell the person what they do. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so don't be so forceful from your perspective. Be an active listener and see where you can be as helpful as possible.
Absolutely. Like, you should be able to, like, if someone's like, oh, what do? You have a quick synopsis of what you do, but then try to switch the conversation to what they do immediately, and then figure out ways how you can help. Oh, and then it's also about building that network where it's like, oh man, my podcast is really struggling. I would love to be able to like market it better. Oh my gosh, my business partner is a fitness marketer. I would love to put you guys in touch together. Being able to call upon that, right? And being able to like, oh, I know someone that does that. It's like, oh, you're providing them a service. You're providing them a positive outlet, and you're not asking for anything in return. Does that make sense? So when you look at this game and you look at some of these people, like, I have the opportunity to hang out with a lot of influencers and a lot of really cool individuals for my job, my day job at On It. And, you know, I had an intern ask me one time, like, why do you get to go do all this? And I was like, well, sweetheart, it's a dude. But sweetheart's my non-endearing term I use for people I'm trying to make a point with. Sweetheart, I've been in this game 10 years. You've been in this game 2 months for an unpaid internship. 1. 2, I've watched your interactions. Like, even with clients that come into the gym, you're so caught up telling them how you're different than the rest of the staff or what you could be doing different for them, that even if you're right, even if you're spot on with your information, that's not how people want to hear it, right? And like, whether it's with, you know, pro athletes or pro like coaches, strength coaches for pro teams, do you think those guys are short on anybody pitching them products or concepts or training tools? Oh my gosh, I've got the tool that's going to change your game. I'm going to make LeBron James the better basketball player. Really? What are you going to give LeBron that's going to make him a better basketball player other than not fucking him up and hurting him? Because he's already the best basketball player, right? So instead of going in and telling them what you can start doing for them because they're not doing it, it's like, bro out with them a little bit. Get to know what they do. And at some point, you can have the opportunity to find a pain point that you're able to help facilitate a win for them. And in turn, if I help Jessica out with something and not asking anything in return, what's the likelihood that my name's going to come up in the next conversation that she has with someone that could help me out, right? Too often that we're going into these conversations trying to get a financial or a brand win or a fucking shout out on Instagram, right? Like, I had someone like, oh man, if you help me out with this, I'll put you on Instagram. I was like, I don't care, right? It doesn't matter to me. That's not how I attach value to my life. So that's not speaking to me. And if that's your measurement of success or your value proposition, it's really low, and people aren't going to adhere to that going forward.
You have a good point there about that intern that seemed to be kind of talking shit about other people that were in the industry. Even if there are people in your realm that are not doing things up to standard, like they could legitimately be criticized for their quality of work, it's so dangerous to talk about other people in the industry. Not because it'll come back to you necessarily as karma, but people that you're talking to, when they hear you sort of gossiping about other people, they can tell subconsciously, if this person's saying this about someone else, why wouldn't they say that about me? You know, immediately, like, I kind of don't trust you for some reason, even though you're trying to confide in me. Causes a weird like block immediately. So don't talk shit.
Yeah,
you're totally right. I was at a meeting, and it was the first time I had ever met the guy, and we're talking, and he's like, "You don't want to talk to X. She bangs everyone in the office." And that was like, I was like, "You don't know me. Like, why would you tell me those things?" Like, and afterwards, I didn't do any business with that because I was like, "Why would you even lead with that?" Like, I've only known you 15 minutes. So it just goes to show. And another thing, Jess, everyone in fitness it's like, it's so small, you'll run into those people like constantly. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just me, but like every conference, it's like, it's only like, it's not even 5, it's like 2 degrees of separation in fitness.
Yeah, be prepared to back it up with science or something, because yeah, it's gonna come back to you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. Okay, so wait, I'm sorry, real quick. I'm sorry, Sam. I was just writing notes on it. So what if someone says, Sam, I'm listening to everything you're saying, but I don't have the courage to even go into a place face to face. Is there any alternative that you would suggest?
If social media, if you're not the forward-facing type of person, it might start out as an Instagram message or LinkedIn message or Facebook message, and it can be peripheral, however you say that, whatever, right? And it could be like, you know, hey, Jessica, I love the work that you put out. Pay accolades to what they do. Tell them what you like about that. And then come in as a student. Come in with a service attitude or servitude attitude. I love what you did with the Barbell Business page. I love what you're doing with FitAid and Mike T. Nelson stuff. I would love to learn about what your thought process is, and maybe we could find a way to work together on something going forward, as opposed to, sup, girl? Like, you do cool shit. Like, we should hang out. You know what I mean?
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of great relationships come from fans of the Barbell Business Show. Just sitting and be like, that was an awesome episode. That was it. Not asking for anything. Oh my gosh, I got asked for so many things from that show. It's crazy. Like, do you have any advice on this? Advice is great. You know, I'm like, dude, I'm so busy. But people that would come and just be like, that was an awesome show. Thank you. Be like, how can I help you? Like, do you have any issues that you're working on right now? I'm like, can I give you anything that you gave me a little gold star?
That's awesome.
This concept is going to go whether it's for content marketing, email marketing, online marketing, in person, it doesn't matter. Every time you ask for a sale, it's like taking money out of the bank. Every time you deliver free content or deliver value, whether it's a conversation or a content piece, a webinar, that's adding money back in the bank. I wish I could say that was mine. That's Luca Hosevars up in Vigor Ground Performance up in Seattle. Super great dude. Extremely well networked as well. I honestly, he's someone that I hope to be at his level networking wise at some point, just because I think that he's done it for longer, one. But I think that's a really great point in terms of how you install into other people's networks, right? And I don't want to come across and say this in that I'm trying to stack favors, right? Like, you find out who your friends are when it's time to move and you live on a 3rd-story apartment with no elevator, right? The ones who show up to help you move is like, okay, those dudes are my ride and dies, right? But like, if someone, like, I'll never call even my best friends to come help me move, right? But I will always be the one that goes and helps them move, right? And not that I'm keeping a tally or a spreadsheet, but people know. People know if you've been helping them out, or people know if you've been around or you were there for them. And there's going to come a point someday where I need something. And now there's so much more likely, like, Jessica, you know, Mike Bledsoe, can you please introduce me to him? And it's like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. I have no qualms about doing that. Versus, you know, whether it's probably for podcasts or to be introduced to someone, it's like, oh, you know this person, like, it happens on LinkedIn all the time. Can you connect me with this person? And you're like, I haven't talked to you in like 6 years. Like, what am I going to tell this person? This person I went to college with wants to talk to you? Why? Because if your value is your network and your net worth, well, then I'm not willing to share that with someone I don't know is going to proliferate the same value proposition that I'm trying to deliver to my network, which is a constant act of servitude and being able to help other people without question, right? And then it turns into the ability to, once again, recall other people and create new opportunities, right? How do you remember that next person? So that way when Jessica needs something, I'm like, oh, that's who you should go to, right? And this concept that we're trying to create at Fitness Break Room is that we always have a guy, right? Very rarely do I not know someone that can at least help you out. It may not be the right transaction for you. Maybe they're too expensive. Maybe they don't necessarily specialize in it. But the real matter is that I opened up my phone book to you because I hope that can be of value to what you're trying to do. So you don't have to be the most social butterfly in the room to have the best network, right? Some of my best friends are not super extroverted and very talkative. Actually, a lot of my friends are super quiet, which works because I love to hear myself talk. That's why I have a podcast, and it works out really well. But being able to put yourself in scenarios, and if that means it's an Instagram message, and just saying, hey, I really love your work. I would love to talk with you sometime about what your thought process is, or going to events, right? And then, to be honest, it could just literally be bar talk, right? Like, if that's, I mean, I would say that might be a good practice for some people, like just to go sit at the bar by themselves, right?
Oh,
I'm not condoning drinking,
horrible.
right? I love it. Because you just don't know your, but like, that's a great practice. Like, fuck, have a couple shots before you start doing it, but, or something, right? But like, it's really good practice to like have a conversation with a total stranger and expect nothing out of it.
That is a great point. There's actually studies that have been done. I'm going to point to you, my partner back here. He's been working through some psychological research on putting yourself in stressful situations, right? And then the more stressful situations you put yourself through and you come out on the other end of it and you're not dead, right? You can get into the next stressful situation, you can endure it at a higher level. So if you're at a point where putting yourself out into a socially sort of like anxious situation, which definitely used to be me, keep doing it and it becomes easier. You know, it's like writer's block. They say the more you write, the less you get writer's block. Like, there are times where I actually get talker's block because I'm so like in the computer all the time, you know, like not speaking to anybody, but I don't have writer's block. You know, I'm just practice. So the same goes for communicating with actual humans. It's like the more times you put yourself out there, the easier it gets. I actually started my own networking group because I didn't like the way they're done really where I live. So I was like, okay, I need to choose myself because there are a lot of people that I want to meet. It doesn't take much to call up a restaurant and be like, hey, do you think you would have space for like 30 people to show up at the bar? And the restaurants are always like, hell yeah, that'd be awesome. People can show up and drink. You call it a super casual happy hour, and then you just put out the feelers to other people in your industry, other people who aren't in your industry, and just get them all together. And then you have kind of control over what the environment is like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have stupid name tags. You don't need to have some weird icebreaker, and nobody needs to have business cards. It's just like, hey, no agenda, just come and you can set your own environment. So it's like, okay, don't like showing up something else, I'm gonna create my own.
That's perfect. I think, and you guys with all the different scenarios, that helps them based on the personality that they have, choose a way that they feel more comfortable. And with that comfortability, now they're able to phase into some of these ideas. And then, like you said, Sam, putting themselves in other positions, it will help them later on become more comfortable. I love the bar idea. And you never know the people at the bar, why they end up at that location at that time. It is amazing to hear people's stories, how they got to that point in their life. So I love it. I love that idea.
When I was a trainer, I made it a point to go sit at the bar by myself that was right next to the gym on a regular basis.
Every night.
I pulled so many clients from there, right? Because my gym was like a block away. And it's like, oh, what do you do? And when you tell someone you work in fitness, everybody just goes, yeah, I'm dealing with this injury. I totally mean to like start getting back in shape. And then it's like, and then it's close time, right? And then it's like, why don't we just walk over here and go buy some session? No, not that simple. I do want to make a quick point. As your network starts to grow and you start engaging and you start building a list of people, that being able to interact with them on a regular basis is super important. And I'm not saying that means a phone call or a text message all the time, but it could be like, I know Jessica's got an event coming up. Good luck at your event, right? And it could be super simple like that. It could be engagement on their social media so they see you coming up all the time. But the number one thing, if we've exchanged numbers or like we banter quite a bit on social media, and then the next thing, the only thing I ever hear from you is you asking me for shit, right? Or, like, oh, can I stay at your house? Or can I use this coupon on it? Or you used to work at 24 Hour Fitness. Can I freeze my account? Right? And it's like, all you ever do is ask me shit. Like, it starts to get really old. Now I'm like, and I've had to tell people, I'm like, actually, can we start moving our conversations over to email? I feel a lot more comfortable rather than text message is a very personal thing for me. And I'm okay with witty banter and stupid memes and GIFs and GIFs or whatever the fuck they're called. And I'm cool with that. And if that's our relationship, I love that. But if it starts turning into all you're doing is using me for an outlet for that kind of stuff, it's now gone, right? And now you've ruined that connection. So you don't need to connect with everybody all the time, but it does help to do it on a somewhat regular basis. So that way when the call does come, where you have an opportunity or you have a potential scenario for them or someone else that you could put them in touch with, it's not coming out of left field, right? So I can text my buddy Tori over at Gold's Gym and say, hey, I've got this really cool opportunity. Can we set up a call? yeah, he's like, yeah, absolutely. Send me a calendar invite, because him and I bullshit on a regular basis. We talk about personal stuff. We talk about fitness. We talk about business. We talk about life. And sure, it might be 1 text message, 3 text messages every other day or so, right? And I wish my mom would adopt this lifestyle with me, that if I talk to her on it once a week, like, she's super pumped. Sorry, Mom, if you end up watching this, she'll share it, guaranteed. Yeah, it's just moms. Facebook loves Facebook. It's not always just tapping them on the shoulder like, hey, can you do this for me? Because then when that happens, like, when you ask to be put in touch with Jessica, I'm going to have to say no, right? Sorry, her and I don't have a relationship anymore, so I can't put you in touch with her, right? Or I don't know if that's the best scenario. Maybe we can find something else for you to work with, right? Or you come out and just like, motherfucker, all you ever do is ask me for shit, right? Have you ever tried, like, it's the buddy, I'm going to put it to you in terms that y'all are going to understand, and I promise I'm not a drunk, but it's the buddy that lingers back at the back of the bar waiting for someone to get the round, and then like, oh yeah, I'll get the next one, right? But they always seem to grab a drink, right? As opposed to, I'm always the dude, like, either maybe I drink my drink faster than everybody else's, but I find myself at the front of the bar going, you guys ready? Okay, let's turn it up. Tequila shots off my belly button. We're in, let's go, right? And it's like, oh, then I look at my bar tab, I'm like, God, I spent like $300 last night. And then your buddy's like, that's weird, I didn't spend any money. And I'm like, okay.
That guy.
We all have that friend, right? So that's how you should treat networking as well. Like, don't be that dude that just kind of shows up and is like always just taking advantage of the network that you've built. You should want to share that network because you've worked really hard to do it. If you're someone that doesn't have this network of people, then you've worked really hard to get it going, right? And start with the people closest to you, right? Look outside of your friend group, right? You hang out with the same 10 people all the time. Sign up for one of those intramural sports leagues, right? Maybe even do it with coworkers. I don't care, but like do it in something where you're gonna potentially meet new people, right? Volunteer with a nonprofit, right? That's a great way to meet people, right? And you all have one cause. So now the conversation never needs to be about anything else. It can literally be about superficial shit like what you do, right? But you're all there for the same cause. So it makes it really easy to converse, right? And then third would be starting to go and do things on your own and find ways. But using your friends or your clients, right, is the super easy way to start expanding out, right? Joining a team, becoming a part of something, right? Going and volunteering with a different network of people, right, is going to expand your social circle tenfold. I want to have my college friends. I want to have my fitness friends. I want to have my baseball buddies. I want to have my debaucherous, I don't take them around to my mom people. And then I have like my professional colleagues that we've never even expanded in the social circle. And I don't necessarily interweave a bunch of their networks, right? If I'm out with this group of friends, like I'm with that group of friends. But sometimes, like they do happen to intermix, and it's a great way to like introduce other people to your network. And or you go and meet someone else and you might meet their friends. Like don't be the motherfucker on your phone that's always texting your other buddies, where you guys at, when you're out with one friend, right? Or on that point, when you're networking, get off your motherfucking phone, right? You don't need to check Instagram. You don't need to check your text message. Turn that shit to vibrate. And if it vibrates, don't talk. Don't disengage from the conversation. You might peripherally like, oh my God, you see that? That person totally just ate shit, right? Which is fine, right? But be present in the conversation because you'll be so much more memorable, right? Because I heard this tip from my childhood best friend's older brother. Remember one thing unique about every single person that you meet, right? Just one thing. Doesn't need to be like, half the time I forget their names because I start conversing and I'm like, what was her fucking name again? This is Jessica.
Yeah.
Right. And then and then they do the intro, right? And you got to fake the cough so it doesn't look like the awkward silence. But being able to bring that all back around, but being I just lost my train of thought. Starting to install that so that way, just the habit of being attentive, right? Because you don't want to be that person that's always checking their phone, right? Because you're not going to remember. So remembering one unique thing about each person, whether it's they were in the military, they do CrossFit, it could even be like their grandma's name is Betty, right? But remembering one unique thing about them, then it gives you the outlet to talk to them about something else. Oh, Doc, how's Grandma Betty doing? She just had hip surgery. And it's like, and let the conversation flow through, because good conversation is going to happen when you start finding through lines and you start finding things to talk about, right? And that way you're not opening up with like closed off conversations. You ever notice oh, Jessica, where'd you go to school? Oh, you went to Cal Poly?
Oh, I didn't go to school. Oh, sorry.
Like, oh, did you know Hunter Cook? Oh my God, I went to college with Hunter Cook, right? And now a conversation that was super awkward, we found something resonating together. Now the conversation is going to spawn organically to start moving forward. And now it can go in all sorts of different directions because you broke down that barrier. So, sorry, I'm all over the place with this. Number one, start expanding your networks, whether it's social, whether it's your personal network, but start putting yourself in scenarios to succeed by expanding that network in whatever capacity. Number two, don't be a fucking retard asshole, right? Get off your phone, be attentive, be present, right? And come in with a service-oriented attitude, not one that's like you're trying to get your initiative across, or you're trying to sell something. Find out how you can help them, right? And then number three, reciprocate the ability to communicate with people across the board. Don't just meet up and then 6 months later, hey doc, you want to buy this product? I just started this new company and I really want you to buy this, right? Dude, I haven't talked to you in like 6 months. You promised you were going to call, you didn't call, right? And now you're trying to get me to go Netflix and chill with you, and we haven't even gone to like grab happy hour drinks yet. You know what I mean? Like, but it works the same way in fitness, right? And I don't know if, I'm going to throw everybody under the bus. I don't know if guys know this, but girls actually pay attention to that. Like, oh, the text came at 2 a.m. Clearly, right? It's not like oh, weird. It just happened to come through at that time, right? Same, but you put it in that perspective of business, like, you know, all of us have had friends who join like multi-level marketing firms, and it's like, come to my company rollout party, come check this product out I'm selling. And it's like, dude, I haven't talked to you. Like, we went to 3rd grade together and I haven't talked to you. And now you're expecting me to be best friends with you and come to your product and buy a bunch of shit. Like, even a text message last week with like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? And then being like, oh, by the way, if you're in town, I'm having a little get together. Would love to have you. Oh, that seems way more organic than, dude, come to my launch party. I'm launching this great green tea that's going to make you look 65 years younger, right? Or whatever it is. So, yeah, hopefully that was valuable for you guys and it wasn't too all over the place.
I'm sorry, I have one last question.
Yeah.
All these great things. Could you explain how you keep track of all of these connections? Like, some people might say, should I just keep it up in my mind? Should I write it down? Do I get a software to keep track of all this? What would you suggest?
I'm the bad person for that because I keep it all up here and I have a really, really easy way to remember people and what they do. However, maybe you keep an Excel spreadsheet or some sort of data management spreadsheet or a note on your phone, and it's like fitness, right? Clients, other business entrepreneurs, right? And then put who you met, their contact information, where you met them, right? And for some of you, maybe even keep track of the correspondence that you've had with them, right? For a little bit. Like, okay, Doc and I met on 8/7, and then we played the podcast game together. I was going to go super inappropriate, but I pulled it back. And then we did the Toolkit Summit together. So now it's like, oh, I've talked to Doc twice in like the last week. Like, that's pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? And if you need that type of accountability for yourself, just like managing your money, then that's a great way to start doing it. If you're like terrible with names and like remembering people, because some people just aren't. Like, it's the conscious consciousness, unconscious consciousness, unconscious, what are the 4 quadrants? Anyway, some people like literally just don't remember, right? It's like they put their dish in the sink and they walk away because they think that's what should happen. And I'm like, bitch, the sink is where you wash your dishes, not leave your dishes. Like, that's what the dishwasher is for.
You single ladies.
Yeah. I'm a fucking super funny person. God.
Fitness rigorous was eligible.
The only one, actually. Unless you want to apply, Doc, I can get you a deal.
Let's take a look after this. Let's take a look.
So yeah, I say keep track of it all, right? And if that's the way you do it, and maybe you do it just on LinkedIn or add them on social media, right? At least so you start seeing their name or their thread start coming up on a regular basis. But if you need to put it in a data management system, like Doc Williams, Docket Toolkit Summit Toolkit, and this date we met at this coffee shop, which I forget the name of, but so I'm a shitty person now, right?
I
You know what I
forgot
mean?
the name of it too.
It was really good though. It was great coffee.
Good times.
Don't act like you like the coffee. You added like 9 cups of sugar and a bowl of cream to your coffee.
That's all. That's how I like my coffee. Why can't I do that?
You got the blackout, and there's like espresso inside the coffee, and I'm like, can I have like the bowl of sugar and just?
Jess, he's not even joking. I unscrewed the top of the sugar so I could get more sugar out quicker.
Did you look into his eyes while you were staring at? You're like, I'm so crazy. Nice to meet you for the first time, Sam.
Don't judge me because you work in fitness. This is basically.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna be real quick. When Sam left the room, that's when I did it, so he wouldn't judge me.
No judgment zone right here. Here, there might be a judgment zone. Here, no judgment zone.
We'll see.
So, yeah, keep track of people in a note. Keep track of them on Excel. Keep track of them on social media. Interact with them on social media. That's a really easy way to maintain it. And just start small. I mean, it can literally start with one person, right? And then it's like, okay, that might be a lot for you, and that's okay, right? Because going and joining a nonprofit where you don't know anybody and going to a meeting, right, is like, can be scary as shit for people. I'm the type that walks in like, I'm here, see me. I love hearing myself talk, and I am the center of attention. And I have no problem making myself look like an asshole or self-deprecating humor, right? But that's my strong suit. That's not everybody's strong suit. And I get that. You want to make fun of me? I can make fun of you, motherfucker. But you know, start with one of your clients. Like maybe have a get together. Like, hey, I'd love all my, you know, as trainers, because this is a fitness thing, invite everybody out to drinks. Like, hey, I'm gonna be at this bar from 6 to 8. If you guys want to stop by, I would love for to hang out with you outside of here. And then they get to meet their other clients because they all have something in common, right? I used to train this one family that there was 13 of them total, right? And I trained them all like 2 to 3 days a week, right? And it was like mom and dad, the daughter's best friend, her husband, etc. Right? And they're like, yeah, family barbecues literally turns into like, what's Sam gonna say? Or what is he having you do right now? And they're like, it's embarrassing that our friends are like, who is this Sam guy? Because I hadn't met them yet. And they're like, all they do is talk about you. And in every capacity. You having that cake? What's Sam gonna say? Ooh, you get that burger, girl. He'll be proud of you, right? So I know I'm ridiculous, but you know, being able to go that route because you already talk to them on a regular basis. Like you should ideally know some of your clients well enough to like hang out with them socially. And to be honest, they'll like you a lot more, right? Some people have that guard up, but you'll be able to tell. Like they make it very cut and dry. But half the time, like you talk about some personal shit as some trainers. Like I know finances, marital problems, kid issues, job problems, and you're like, damn, I'm like the therapist, right? It's like the whole barbershop salon scene, but you see those people 3 times a week, not once a week or once a month, right? So you'll have quite a bit for them to talk about. And then your clients will have a lot to talk about, right? I gave this advice to a kid in Missoula, Montana. And I was like, you know, you want to start getting your business up and going? Go train with the busiest trainer at your gym or at the gym that you go to. Why? I go, because he's the best network dude in town, right? Because who has money to buy training? People who have money, right? And then if you can get all them in a room together, shit starts happening. And you are the common link that found all that. So people will remember that kind of stuff.
That's perfect. Sam, I really think like it comes down to relationships and you just underlining what people see in their normal life. They just need to apply it to their business. I think that's crucial. And I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of notes to take the time to really increase their business. And if anyone's watching and they're looking for a hashtag so we can find you, we'll use one of any of Sam's catchphrases throughout this time. Just hashtag us. Nipple shots, whatever you want, we'll find you and we'll come back and see how you enjoyed this.
I will say one of my favorite expressions is don't be shitty. You don't have to be perfect, just don't be shitty. How was your coffee? It's not shitty. Not the best cup of coffee you ever had, and it's not the worst. Just don't be shitty.
And that's a perfect ending.
And they all lived happily ever after.
Before we go, could we please hear where can we find more from you guys and where can they find you online?
Yeah, you can find us at fitnessbreakroom.com or on Instagram and I can never remember our handle because I'm not the greatest networker. He's the one that takes care of that. So you can go.
Fitness Break Room on Instagram.
Oh, it's hard to remember.
I know, it's tough. It's like our name. And then you can find her at Jessica's Things. I know, that's so awkward. I always have to think of it Jessica S Things because I don't know. I don't know why.
It's one of those I picked when I was very young, and I just have never transferred over into a more adult hashtag, I guess, or adult handle.
You didn't go with Hottie2427QtPie36.
Yeah,
like
Asian girl, like AZNGURL.
You definitely had that.
I did.
And then my handle is S as in Sam, POGUE86. So, or you can find me by searching my name, but SPOG86.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for the time, and we will be checking all of this out, and as you guys are trying these things out, don't forget, comment below or also email us if you have specific questions as well. So thank you guys again for taking the time, for being on the summit, 2 different presentations, and we'll be talking to you guys very soon.
Can't wait.
Thanks, Doc.